we are what we constantly think about. We all have like this internal conversation about how things should be going and how we are reaching those goals. And I feel like I had, like when I was younger, it was very difficult for me to kind of understand that whatever I wanted to do is actually possible. I was brought up as somebody who didn't have much. I was from one parent household and we came here as immigrants. I mean, I was born in Finland, but my mother came here as an immigrant, and I was lucky enough to be able to grow up in this country and to be able to have everything that I needed at the time. I was struggling to feel valued. I also struggled to feel like I belonged in this country just because of my background. If you want to change your self-concept, if you want to become someone else, change the character of your life, instead of wishing to having specific material things in order to be a specific person, I think we should all be asking ourselves what characteristics we can acquire in order to become that sort of person that we see ourselves being. Now it's been 10 years that I've been working in the harbor. I still do really random shifts, and I feel like it's still sort of like an armor for me to be able to kind of sustain everything and just to know that I have something to fall back on, even if I know that once you do not have anything to fall back on, you will find the strength within yourself to build something up and to kind of go through all of your fears and create some sort of internal motivation for yourself, for you to be able to reach the goals that you have. I really wanted to share this journey that I'm on at the moment and been going on for, I would say, for the past 6 years. I really grew up not having much. Looking back now and understanding that I was bullied because I was from an immigrant family. So there was a lot of like internal discussions that I had as a child that created a basis for my self-esteem, for me to build myself, to grow up to be a balanced adult. That I would say now I really had some internal debates about whether I was worthy or not. And this is something I think you will be going through forever, in a way where you're like clearing these blockages, clearing these internal thoughts that you have about yourself. These will always be there, but you can obviously work through them and you can rewire yourself to think about yourself in a different way. Of course, surroundings, people you hang out with, family beliefs, like patterns that you have in your childhood, these all affect the way you feel and see yourself, whether you see yourself as somebody who is worthy of love, abundance, prosperity, in general, just having like this, like a better quality of life. Once you feel that you're worthy of something better, you're able to then bring something better into your life. But before you internally think that you are worthy, you will self-sabotage and won't let yourself to enjoy those things or to even have those things in your life. I wanted to really emphasize the fact that you can start even if you're older. For so many years, I think I was like 28 or something, I started my studies in Netherlands, and I remember thinking, I'm not good enough to compete with everyone. I was not good enough to develop my skills. I had a lot of very negative self-talk, and because I was there, I was taken out of the very safe surroundings that I had in Finland, and I actually had to rebuild my self-concept, but also just myself in general. I was living in a totally different country where I was not a native. I felt like I was an outsider. I knew it's going to be difficult to move to another country and to go through everything and to learn new things and learn new behaviors about yourself and how you see yourself. So I knew this was something that I had to go through, but I did a lot of like inner work. I did a lot of shadow work. I did a lot of journaling. I understood who I was, what I wanted, and also where I wanted to be in the future, right? But little did I know that once I came back to Finland, which was the surrounding where I had this certain role or character that I was playing before I moved to Netherlands, I just fell right back into that role. Like I became this harbor worker. Even the fact that at that point I had graduated from a very successful art academy, I still came back to Finland and I felt like I was a harbor worker once again. Like I just came back into that role and into that life that I left in the beginning. And the thing is, this was just because when I was coming back home, I remember even thinking to myself that, you know what, I have this fear of going right back into my old life. And a friend of mine said that it doesn't mean that you will, but if you do think that you will, there's a high possibility that you actually will. Because once I kind of had this underlying thought or decision made that I will just go back into my old life, I noticed that I started to act and behave in a way that was fulfilling this manifestation. I was fulfilling this fear that I had. I remember being 27. I remember thinking I was too old, I should be doing this, or I was not good enough. And I felt like even after I was chosen to do my exchange there, which then resulted in me becoming a full-time student at the academy, I remember thinking, I don't have the experience that I need. I had a lot of blocking beliefs about myself, my work, my practice, and my personality and my character, who I was. And looking back now, I started clearing that out once I graduated from the academy. Like on my last year of the academy, I had this very intense breakup that really shattered me fully. And after starting to rebuild myself, I started to also rebuild my self-confidence. And at that point, I understood that the more I valued my own opinion, the things that I was doing, that I was interested in, and really giving myself time to explore and putting myself first, just understanding that I should be voicing my opinions. I should be expressing how I feel, what I want, and whether I needed time for myself, like setting healthy boundaries. The people who are not understanding of your boundaries that you're setting, these are the people that you should be letting go of. Because if they do value you as much as you value yourself, they would understand you setting boundaries, because they would understand that the boundaries are not there to ruin your friendship. They're there to raise your self-worth for yourself. So yeah, setting boundaries is the most painful thing ever, but at the same time, it usually results in letting go of people who you thought were in your core circle. Like, I think we have 3 layers where we have people in our life. One is the outer circle, which is acquaintances, people you work with, people you know but are not too close with. Then we have inner circle, which is friends. So maybe people you hang out with every now and then, go out, people you might, go for a coffee or something. You hang out very occasionally, but your friendships or relationships have not developed any deeper for a number of reasons. It can be that you don't want to be vulnerable around them because you feel like they might judge you. And then you have a core of people who are your family, your spouse, your partner, the closest friends you have. And this might even be just a couple of friends, like the closest people that you can tell almost everything. And they will tell you the truth. They will tell you whether you're wrong or right. And they will stand up for you, but they will also call you out if they see that you're in the wrong. So they will be the most honest and genuine people in your life. And once you know these people, it's really a lot more easier, I think, to navigate, because you won't be feeling left alone. You won't be feeling like you're not valued or worthy, because you will be seeing very clearly who are these people who actually do value you and who don't. So you don't expect it from people that you know are not in the core of your circle, if you know what I mean. Whatever you want to start, you can really do so. There are a couple of things that you need to work on in order for you to implement new habits, because introducing a new habit into your life takes about, I think, 18 days to really be able to call it a habit. The most important thing here is, after you have this habit, this is only one layer of it. I think there's like this pyramid of self-concept, where on the basis, it's like small habits. So it's like going for a walk, preparing healthy meals for yourself every day, creating art, maybe photographing, whatever you feel that is important and you want to implement in your life, right? So these are small habits that you will have to just start doing, kind of get yourself out of the rut and just decide that you're going to start doing those things. Once you start doing those things, they will create a basis of this triangle. You will have to create a character that you want to play at some point in your life. And I know it sounds like really out of this world, like you cannot really grasp the thought or like the concept of how do I create a character. But it's really like journaling. What are those things that you want to have in your life? It can be something huge, but it can be something minor. I think it depends on, once you decide who you want to be, you will have to break it down into smaller pieces. I wanted to be a personal trainer, so I started to really look into what were the things that I needed to do in order to become a personal trainer, right? But I really started to going to the gym. I went to take a course on personal training. I graduated that course. I was starting to personal train people. So I really started to become this person that I wanted to be, right? But I felt like there was so many other small things at the base of the triangle that I was discussing before that I wasn't really looking into, okay? And this is where it got a bit difficult, because once I only started to work out but I didn't cut out alcohol, it started to become very difficult to see myself as this very healthy, athletic personal trainer and still be doing heavily those things that were not aligning with that self-concept, you know? What I mean here is you can do everything in balance, but my mindset was not truly grasping the idea of this new character, so I felt like it was not sticking. I was doing all these things, but I remember thinking, why is it so hard? Like, why don't I fully feel like I am this educated fitness trainer? And I remember thinking I wasn't feeling like I was embodying that character. My main dream was to become a photographer, so when I was not sure whether I'd be one ever in the future, I actually wanted to have something to fall back on, which in this case was this personal training career. So I thought if I'd had the papers, if I'd had the degree, if I would ever feel like photography was not for me, I could always just have this plan B in a way. But the thing is, because it was not the first thing that I wanted to do, I never fully committed to it. I was trying to be a personal trainer, but I was not mentally fully feeling or seeing myself as being one. And at the same time, I wanted to do photography, but I was not able to do it full time because I was trying to create this plan B for myself instead of putting all my efforts in this plan A that I had. So how do you actually build your self-concept? Like, what are those daily habits that you can do that will kind of rewire your brain to think differently about yourself? Again, this is not advice on anyone to disregard therapy or anything official. This is just me telling about my own experience and just telling about things that have worked for me and just sharing them in case you want to see whether they work for you. So for me, it was journaling, very important, journaling. And I didn't even do it all the time. I still don't do journaling all the time. I have periods, couple of months I might write almost daily, then I have like 2 months I don't write at all, and then I come back to it because sometimes writing feels like it's very slow. So if I don't have the time and energy to do that and really to put my mind into it, I don't do it. I think more powerful in this case is visualization. Even 10 minutes a day is very important, where you envision yourself being this person that you want to become. And it doesn't have to be like, you don't have to see all the details. You cannot go really wrong with that. You just try to sense how it would feel to be this person that you are building yourself to be. So for me, moving from being a harbor worker into being a creative photographer, for me really required a heavy shift, a really heavy shift, because the other one is really like this worker person. I was working every day, overtime. I was sitting in the machine. I was just listening to podcasts and music. There was nothing that was really challenging me. I didn't feel like it was building me or growing me as a person. I was lacking on so many levels. I was yearning for like spiritual connection with people that I didn't have there. And on the other hand, I wanted to be a photographer that required me to be more social, more capable of speaking, discussing, teaching, learning about things, being more creative, not only mentally, but also like physically, like creating things and being able to understand that it required this amount of uncertainty about the future, because when you are a creative, you're not always sure where you're going to have that revenue from. It's not as steady as, you know, working for a company daily, having like a monthly income. So these were very different things. It was not only that I was supposed to change the actual job, but it was also to change my mindset about money, about my capabilities, about my personality, being an introvert and becoming sort of an extrovert, because once you're teaching or presenting your artwork, you need to be very verbally capable in a way. Obviously not everyone is, but it is something that you need to learn a bit more, and I was totally at the other end of this. So changing from being a worker to being a photographer, for me it was a million miles away, and it was. I did a lot of video diaries diaries. I've been doing video diaries from like 2016 or something. So I discussed with myself. I told myself what I wanted to have, how I wanted to have it. I was sort of confiding in myself like I would to a friend, but I had it done visually, because once I looked at the videos, I would almost like relive this feeling or moment of me embodying what I wanted to have. So journaling, video, diaries. One important thing that I think you should implement even more than journaling is visualization. And doing that for, I would say, even 10 minutes a day is so much more worthy than journaling. And this is just my experience. I know a lot of people do journaling. It works well for them. But I feel like for me, writing things down, I don't fully get to maybe experience the emotion or the kind of like the frequency of what I want to have. So once I go into like visualization meditation, which is, I do 2 types of meditations. Visualization meditation for me is I visualize myself already having it and how it would make me feel. I do quantum jumping meditations on YouTube. I'm gonna link them below. I try to do them like 3 to 5 to 7 times a week. It depends on the week. If I have a lot of time, I might do them daily. If I have like easy mornings. And afterwards, I feel like I'm already living the life that I'm actually wanting to live. So they really work for me in the sense of they're kind of getting something moving in me, where I'm way more capable of doing everything that I need to do. I have way more trust in that what I want is already mine. And by embodying it, I'm already kind of radiating the energy of having it that I'm lacking or thinking that. And never look at things through lack. In the lack mentality, you're then repelling it actually, because you are needing it instead of already having it. Meditation is different from visualization in the ways that I go into a meditative state. I usually sit, because otherwise I will fall asleep. I usually sit and I put this track, I'm gonna link it below. I put that on and I try to meditate for about 10 to 15 minutes daily. Sometimes if I have way more time and I don't feel like I'm in a hurry, I do it even longer. And during that, I usually have these sort of, I would say, intuitive thoughts about things that I'm having a question about. If I'm like planning a photo shoot with my mom, like a creative photo shoot, and I need to find an idea, I then meditate. I've meditated many times and I've had ideas come to my head, like they just come out of nowhere. They've never come in the first time of meditation. Like when I started to meditate, I didn't really receive these intuitive thoughts. You can get intuitive thoughts on like going to shower. Maybe I'm on a walk. Even once I'm going to bed, I might get like an intuitive thought of like, okay, you need to do this. And it's really like a short thing. It's very subtle. It might be just a feeling or a word or an image in your head that you get. And I usually always try to write these down because they result into creative ideas, projects. Maybe when I'm doing YouTube videos or TikTok, I usually get some sort of intuitive ideas and then I create the material from that. So I never really struggle with whether I have the material or not. Also, this video actually was supposed to be me being productive or how I'm productive. But then I really had this feeling of like, maybe I should actually do this video. This video feels way more personal, way more authentic to me. And I thought it would be something that you would also enjoy watching. But the most important message here is you're not late. There is no such thing as being late because we are what we constantly think about. So if you think about that you're late from something, or you're too old, or you're too much of this or too little of that, whatever it is, you're then creating this kind of ceiling for yourself that you cannot grow past that, or this is the limit that you have and you cannot get to the other side of this limit, the ceiling that you have. Now being 35, I remember thinking when I was like 28 that after 30 I need to have all these things, and if I don't, I'm gonna be late. But you know what, like life goes on after 30. It really does. And it actually gets better because you start to get to know who you are, what it is that you like. You start to like shed people that are not aligned with you. You really tighten your circle. You focus on those things that you enjoy more, and you start to become more of that person that you always kind of wanted to be, but you were too afraid of what others might think. So I feel like after 30, I actually became more clear about what I wanted in my life, and I had more courage to let go of those things that were not aligning with what I wanted to have, and not feeling like, what will they think of me? Or maybe I should still have this plan B here because otherwise it's not safe. It's really, yeah, it's really interesting how the older you get, the more conscious you become about these things, but then also less you kind of give a fuck about them and you just let go. You need to start implementing these things bit by bit. Just understand that changing the character that you are at the moment will take some time for you to become another character. And for me, it really simplified once I wrote everything down, like who I was, where I was working, where I was living, what kind of friends I had. And I know this might be a bit painful, but I don't remember how this quote went. The people you hang out with, you actually become. So be mindful also of that, like I had a lot of great friends, but once I look at them, not many of them were spiritual. So this was also something that I really took a deep look into, and it's a slow process, and rejection is redirection. Take notice on how you feel around specific people and surroundings. Like, are you nurturing yourself, your soul, or just doing things that others expect you to do? I hope this gave you some insights. I will see you again next week, and yeah, enjoy the week.